Section 14. Negotiating the short sale without exceeding your license. The lender doesn't say no, but it doesn't say yes either. Ashley receives an email from David's loan servicer on Wednesday morning. She has been waiting weeks for this response, so she immediately calls Michael before opening the attachment. The lender has reviewed David's financial package, Marcus and Elena's $518,000 purchase contract, and the valuation it ordered. The answer is not a simple approval or rejection. Instead, the lender indicates that it may approve the short sale if certain financial and closing conditions are satisfied. David reads the response and becomes frustrated. He thought the entire point of submitting the package was to get a yes or no. Michael explains that this is exactly why short sales require careful transaction management. A creditor may be willing to cooperate, but only on terms that produce an acceptable financial result under its requirements. Now Ashley has to determine what those conditions mean for the actual real estate transaction. The lender wants more money. Suppose the lender's valuation indicates David's property is worth $530,000, rather than the $518,000 Marcus and Elena agreed to pay. The lender responds that it will consider approval at $525,000. David immediately tells Ashley, "Tell them no, we already have a contract at $518,000. Here is where we need to separate the agreements again. Marcus and Elena have a purchase contract with David. The lender is being asked to accept less than the amount otherwise required in connection with the sale. If the lender refuses to approve the requested payoff unless the financial terms change, David may have a problem. But the lender's demand does not magically rewrite the purchase contract. Ashley can communicate the lender's position and help David evaluate the real estate options within her licensed role. If David wants Marcus and Elena to increase their price, that change must be addressed between the buyer and seller through the appropriate contractual process. Marcus and Elena are not automatically obligated to pay more simply because David's lender wants more money. David then points to another paragraph in the lender's response. It discusses the treatment of the remaining loan balance. He asks Ashley, "Does this mean they're forgiving everything I still owe?" Ashley reads the paragraph twice and realizes she isn't comfortable answering. Good. Knowing when not to answer can be one of the most valuable skills an experienced licensee develops. ARS Section 33-814 contains important Arizona provisions concerning deficiency actions following certain trustee sales. But David is currently attempting a short sale, not asking Ashley to teach a law school class on foreclosure liability. The effect of lender language concerning remaining debt may depend on the agreement, loan, transaction, and applicable law. Ashley should not interpret the lender's release language as David's attorney. Michael tells David, "Before you agree to anything involving continuing liability or release of debt, have an Arizona attorney review it." That's not avoiding the client, that's protecting the client. Tax questions belong with tax professionals. David has another question. If they forgive $30,000, am I going to owe income tax on that? Ashley cannot answer that one either. Federal tax treatment of canceled or forgiven debt can depend on current law and the taxpayer's individual circumstances. Rules and exclusions can change, and the real estate agent should not tell a seller that a short sale is automatically tax-free or automatically taxable. David should speak with a CPA, enrolled agent, tax attorney, or other qualified tax professional. The broker tip is simple. Don't turn a commission into a tax opinion. Then the lender changes the closing numbers. The lender's conditions also limit certain expenses it will permit to be paid from the transaction proceeds. One item the parties expected to be paid at closing is reduced. Another seller concession is not approved. The lender also establishes a specific closing deadline. This creates a common short sale challenge. The creditor's approval conditions and the buyer-seller contract must now be compared carefully. If the lender will not permit the transaction to close under the existing financial structure, the parties may need to negotiate changes. Those changes should be properly documented. Do not create secret agreements. Do not move money outside escrow to hide it from the lender. Do not tell the parties, "We'll just handle that after closing." An undisclosed payment designed to conceal the true economics of the transaction can create serious problems involving lenders, escrow, regulators, and potentially federal law. The official transaction should reflect the actual transaction. Commissions can become part of the conversation. David notices that the lender's approval also addresses the amount it will permit to be paid from the sale proceeds toward real estate commissions. He looks at Ashley and says, "I guess the bank decides what you get paid." Not exactly. The creditor may establish what it is willing to allow from the proceeds as part of its short sale approval. But brokerage compensation also involves the applicable employment agreements, broker relationships, contracts, and law. Ashley should not negotiate compensation outside her broker's authority or create undisclosed arrangements to solve a lender limitation. This is another reason Michael needs to remain involved. In a distressed transaction, one financial change can affect several other agreements at the same time. One lender says yes, the second says not so fast. After reviewing the conditions with appropriate professionals, David believes the first lender's proposal may be workable. Marcus and Elena are willing to discuss the requested price adjustment. For the first time in weeks, Ashley thinks the transaction might actually close. Then the title officer calls. There's a problem with the second lien. The first lender is willing to permit only a limited amount of the transaction proceeds to go toward that subordinate debt. The second lien holder wants substantially more before it will cooperate with the release necessary for the sale. David looks at Ashley in disbelief. So the first lender can approve the short sale and we still can't close? Exactly. A short sale isn't finished because one creditor says yes. If another lien remains attached to the property and cannot be resolved, title and closing may still be impossible under the contemplated transaction. That takes us directly into Chapter 4, Getting the Short Sale to Closing, beginning with Section 13, Multiple Liens, HOA Claims, Judgments, and Title Problems. Online Discussion 1. David's lender wants the purchase price increased from $518,000 to $525,000. Does that automatically change Marcus and Elena's purchase contract? Answer: no. The lender's short sale condition does not automatically rewrite the agreement between David and the buyers. Ashley can communicate the lender's requirement, but any necessary change to the purchase price between buyer and seller should be negotiated and properly documented according to the contract. 2. David asks Ashley whether language in the approval letter completely releases him from any remaining debt. What should Ashley do? Answer: Ashley should avoid giving a legal interpretation of the creditor's release or deficiency language. She should involve her designated broker and recommend that David have a qualified Arizona attorney review the provision before relying on it. The legal effect may depend on the specific language, loan, transaction, and applicable law. 3. Why is it dangerous to create an undisclosed payment outside escrow to satisfy a short sale demand? Answer: an undisclosed payment can misrepresent the true economics of the transaction to lenders, escrow, title, or other parties, and may create serious contractual, regulatory, lending, or fraud concerns. Financial arrangements affecting the transaction should be properly disclosed and documented as required, rather than concealed through side agreements.